Well, hello. I'm so excited to be with you today. I have brought some of my favorite stories to share with you. But you know, my stories are invisible. That's because I don't use books to tell the stories. And because they're invisible, sometimes they're a little hard to keep track of. So I found it's helpful if I keep my stories in individual boxes. I try to find boxes that remind me of each story that I tell. Now, the first story I'd like to tell you today, I keep in this box. And sometimes when students look at this, they'll ask me, well, is it a long story? It's not especially long. But what if I held it like this? What might you guess? What do you think? It might be a tall tale. Exactly. And in fact, you're absolutely right. This is kind of a tall tale that comes from Japan. Now, sometimes I put things in the boxes to help me tell the story. And when I let the story out of the box, I can give you the words. But where do you suppose the pictures are going to come from? From where?
Our minds.
From your minds, absolutely. So, are you ready to use your imagination and help me bring these stories to life?
Yes.
All right, then let's get started. Badger was walking through the woods one day, feeling very proud of himself. You see, he had just tricked someone out of all of their rice cakes, and his pockets were bulging with them. As he walked along, congratulating himself on being such a clever badger, he heard the sound of laughter. And he followed it until, looking through an opening in the bushes, he saw a group of little Tingu children. And they were playing with a magic nose fan. Now, one of those little Tingu children would fan the nose of another. And that little Tingu child's nose would grow longer, 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 until it would go bump into a tree. And then the one with the fan would take it and turn it over and would fan that long Tingu child's nose, and it would shrink back to its cute little Tingu size. They were having such a great time playing with this magic nose fan. But the whole time Badger was watching, he was thinking, I could use that fan to my advantage. Presently he went out into the open and he called out, "Oh, little Tingu children, I have a rice cake here for any little Tingu children who close their eyes and hold out one hand." Well, Tingu children love rice cakes. So they all closed their eyes and they held out one hand. And then he said, better still, I have 2 rice cakes for any little Tingu children who close their eyes and hold out 2 hands. And so they all closed their eyes and they held out 2 hands, including the one with the magic nose fan. And when it dropped to the ground, Badger was ready. He swooped down, he grabbed that fan, and he ran off into the bushes. And no little Tingu children got any rice cakes that day. Well, now that he had the fan in his possession, Badger had to decide what he was going to do with it. By the time he got to town, he had devised a plan. He went immediately to the home of the richest merchant. And there, on the richest merchant's lawn, lay the richest merchant's beautiful daughter. She was sleeping in the sunshine with her head upon a rock. This is going to be easier than I thought, he said to himself. And he snuck up behind her, and he took that fan out, and he began to fan her nose. And her nose began to grow longer, 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 until it was about 6 feet